Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 150. 150. That snuck up on me. I had some kind of tentative ideas for doing something special for this vlog, but yeah, just clean forgot it. So maybe in 50 weeks time, just under a year, maybe I will, maybe I'll remember them for vlog 200, we'll do something special. But anyway, sorry about that. It's been a good week. Angela's better. I'm got sick, then now feeling a bit better today, thankfully. Rosie's had good fun at a new school. Lots of real life things going on, but I've also managed to get onto the hobby table a bit and do a few bits and pieces. Sadly, I haven't got any time with Rosie this week. That's because she was, well, Angela was sick, and she was sick, and then I was sick. And I even prepared yesterday morning early to do something with her all day yesterday, and then I got sick and I couldn't do anything. So absolutely gutted, but hopefully next week we'll carry on with that project. But there are other things to watch, so I really hope that you enjoy the video. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. I do reply to every single comment I receive, so don't be shy, do say hi. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. I've just been through all the parts, and I'm pretty sure everything is there, which is really cool. There's one bit of damage, which is a shame, but it's going to be very easy for me to fix. As you can see, just that little bit there has come off there, so I can glue that on very, very easily. It's not a problem at all. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to start to clean up the sprues. So funnily enough, with this having fallen off, it's quite easy. You can see there's quite a lot of flash and what have you on this, which I'd heard was the case. The other good thing is on the side of the box is the instructions for how to make it. So first of all, glue the head together, stick it to the neck, then onto the body, put the legs on and the tail on and what have you, and then the wings, and then put the claws on and the other wing. So we've got a nice little bit of instruction there to help me know how to do it, and yeah, so I'm going to do it in the order it suggests. The other thing is I'm going to assemble it all. I'm not going to do this in parts. I'm going to assemble it all and then paint it all together, but I'll do the base and the body separately. Having said that, I'm going to assemble all of Smaug, and then I'll paint the base and Smaug separately, and then I'll glue them together. So I'm going to start cleaning up and tidying up. I'm going to fix that, use a bit of super glue, I'm also actually going to wash everything first. That's the first thing to do, almost forgot. So I'll get some really hot water, put each piece into hot water, give it a scrub with some washing up liquid or dish soap if you're from the American part of the world. And that will then get rid of any release agent and mean that when I'm painting it, the paint doesn't fall off, which is what happens if you have release agent on your models and you don't wash them. Then you get to the end, you're doing all your lovely painting and it just falls straight off, and it's very frustrating. So once I've got that washed and I've cleaned the sprues and what have you, I'll bring you back and we'll go together the assembly. I'll film that, but I'm not going to film all the cleaning up because that's well, yeah, just come along with a knife and carving things off. So yeah, very, very cool. I really hope I can get this done for Christmas. Let's get started. Well, first off, I have washed, still a bit wet actually, it's not ready for painting this, and taken these pieces off their sprues. They're clean enough, so I'm going to stick those in, because I think the first thing that I'll be working on, clearly, I'll be able to start painting up this base. So just a slap of super glue and sit that in. It's got nice little notches to make it quite easy to know where they go. They're obviously also different sizes, but the notches give it a good kind of lateral support as well. So slap some glue in that and then put that in place. Now there will be some filling even around this, so if we zoom right in, you can see that there's a gap here, and then there's gaps down the inside of this as well, this side. So yeah, there'll be a little bit of filling to be done on that, but not too much. But I'll bring you along when I get to that. But that's glued in first. A little bit of assembly done on the Smaug base. How exciting. The rest of Smaug, if I quickly rotate the camera, my tea bags there, but the rest of Smaug is drying on the drying mats, having been washed and scrubbed. So yeah, I'll get to them at some point in the future as well. I don't know whether I'll get this done in time. However, the Paint All the Minis painting theme for last month and this month, as it happened, I didn't have time to even enter last month, is Ice and Fire. And I just remembered, literally just remembered, that I have this, the Frost Giant from Kings of War. And I've been putting off making this for a long time, and I'm going to try and make it. I'm obviously making a lot of things at the moment. I'm getting back to being busy, which is a nice feeling, doing it organically, not feeling pressured. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out of the packs, put them through some soap water and wash them up, and then I'll come back and show you how I go about assembling. There are actually no instructions at all. You have the awesome picture, I mean the artwork's fantastic, but no instructions. So yeah, I will try to capture as much of that on camera as I can, so if I find some iffy bits, whatever, if you're trying to make this, it might help. But yeah, very, very excited. I have the other giant as well, the normal one, the non-frost one, so this will probably inform how that one goes as well. Anyway, let's get this washed, and then I'll bring you back and we'll have a look at the painting, or even the assembly, sorry. Well, yesterday I washed these, and I've spent a little bit of time splitting apart the kit, because it turns out, and I think I remembered talking about this when I first received the kit, that you do get quite a lot of stuff which you don't need, which is really odd. You just get a conversion kit on top of the main normal kit, and that is all the stuff that you don't need over there, and this is all the stuff you do need. I've also had a little bit of a play around as to how it gets assembled, just to kind of get my head around, make sure I'm doing it right, but I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in an upcoming section, because the first thing that I need to do now, or the next thing to do now, is clear off these little sprue pieces here. There's not loads, but there are a few, and just get it all like cleaned up and tidied up. So I'm going to do that now, snip off any bits of flash, and get them and get that all cleaned up, and then I'll start assembling, and I'll bring you back once I've finished the cleanup. But there's not too much. It's pretty cool, to be honest. I'm pretty impressed with how neat it is. So yeah, let's get that done, and I'll bring you back very shortly for the assembly. Right, so I'm going to start assembling this, and I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these together. Now, if you look, it's actually not the greatest of fits on this. Which is actually a problem, because if you don't get a good fit, then it won't assemble properly later on. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the top and the bottom bits around here, not put any glue in that section there, and then when this is all dried and sealed, I'm going to come along and pinch those together. I think that's going to be how I'm going to have to do it. I was wondering whether I might be able to use heat, like hot water or whatever, but I really don't think that's going to be an option, looking at it. It's quite thick. The plastic is quite thick, so I think it'll be a little bit fiddly to do that. Probably wouldn't work very well. So anyway, we're going to run along our glue along here. And like I say, I'm not going to do the glue on that side. And what we'll do is we'll make that all nice and tight, like so. Might see if some of my clamps work well for this. These ones are particularly strong, so no, they're not. So I might just have to hold that for a bit until it dries. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed by how bad that fit is. When I opened it, I thought it looked really, really good. But yeah, so I'll glue that, and then once that's dry, what I'll be doing is I'll be putting the legs in, and they slot in like that on there, so that's quite easy, and then the feet come in underneath like that. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll bring you back for the next step once that's all dried. So I'll just assemble the bottom half, but I'm going to try and find some clamps, or try and get that to hold together a bit better, so I don't have to stand here holding it. The next thing to do is going to be the torso. That goes together much nicer, whatever. Oh, and here is, I managed to get it clamped with one of my compression clamps. So what I'll do is I'll glue the torso together like that, and then the rest of this kind of white bit, which is one of the adjustments for this being the snow troll, clamps over the top like that. So I'm going to glue those bits together, and then I'll bring it back for the next bit when I get to it. And I finished painting this up. I'm really pleased with how it's come out. All I need to do now is stick her into a flower thing. So a little bit of super glue, and there we are. Set that set, and that's done. Well, I'm carrying on with this, and as you can see, I've put lots of clamps on the side to keep this held. I glued this yesterday, actually, left it to dry, and yeah, there's a fair bit of filling that's going to be needed to get this to look nice, but that is now in place. So as I've said, I'm just going to crack on with this. My next thing to do, two things, is I'm going to glue the head on, and the head slots on there. So just to get the head to the right. Don't want him looking a little bit over, maybe. Don't want to look him straight ahead, I'm not sure. I'll have a think about that. And then the other thing is the actual bottom of his torso and the top of his legs. I now need to glue that and get that to go together, which is not going to be easy, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'll probably just put the glue in and hold it for, or maybe get some spray actually on that, get some activator and hold it in place, and hopefully that will grip, because I mean I will have the leg going over the top of that, which will pinch it together, but I still want that to be sealed. And then that slots in, hopefully slots in there somehow, which I will have to also have a look at. There we are, that slots in there, how about that? So I'll probably glue that together as well. I'm really getting there. This is assembling okay. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Things like that are quite annoying, but it does slot together nicely in places. There's a few areas where there's some issues. And then I'll put the legs on. So I'll bring it back probably when I've done all of those bits and pieces. I'll let you know how I've done it. Yeah, we're getting close to being able to start priming this. Well, that's glued together. I ended up not worrying about pinching the leg thing together on the lower torso, because I just, when I shoved the legs in, it pinched it for me. So they're glued in place now, and that can now wait to set. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue on the side pieces on his weapon. And if you have a look, I don't know if how well this is going to come out, but there's a little dot. There's a 1 dot there, there's 4 there, there's 3 there. And if you look on the bottom of each of the actual attachments, they have the corresponding dot, which is a really nice little thing. I just thought I'd highlight that to you. So yeah, so dot 4 goes there and fits on very, very nicely, like so. So I'll snip these off, glue them in place, cracking on. Alright, so this is going really, really quickly. On to the last bit now. Well, last but one bit. I've decided I'm going to do the head last. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the arms on. So this one, I did it before, there we are, this one goes on like that. And then the other side comes in underneath like so, and then joins up with his big weapon like that. So it's going to take a little bit of kind of like squeezing and holding, what have you, so I'll do it off camera as well, but that's how that goes together. And then the only thing we've got left to do is the head, and I'm going to position that once I've glued it all together and have a look at it and work out exactly how I want him to be looking. Like I say, I'm thinking maybe looking slightly off to that direction, but we shall see. So I'll get my glue, get these stuck in. Actually just seen just now there's a little bit more flash that needs to be trimmed off. There we are, get rid of that. Done. And yeah, and I'll bring it back when I come to do the head. Alright, last bit, let's get this head glued in. And I've decided, I've just been playing around with different angles and positions. And I've decided what I'm going to do is looking down like that. Oh, that was slightly out of shot. A bit tough to do this sometimes, but looking down like that. So when he's standing up, he's going to be looking really grumpy, kind of down to the right. So I'll try and get a better shot when it's glued in place, and when I've actually stuck him onto his base, which I'm not sure if I'm going to do now or not. I might do that all together. I might do a little bit of a scenic base for him. It comes with a square base, which I might end up using, to be honest. But yeah, that's assembled. Pretty happy with how that looks. I I think he's a big beastie, bigger than I expected, but I'm pretty cool, pretty happy with that. So yeah, so I'll think about what to do with the base, whether I'm going to prime off base or on base, and I'll bring it back for the next step, but I'll just let it to set now. I'm not going to touch it with any paintbrushes until all the glue is set. And I also need to do the filling, so I think probably the next thing I'll do, whatever I do, is I'll come along and I'll fill all these gaps. So I'll bring it on when I get to that stage, which will probably now be tomorrow. Alright, let's make a start on assembling this part of Smaug. So I've got the head sections, the mouth and what have you, and that bit attaches to there, and then that bit goes on the bottom, like that. So there's some cleaning up to do, as you can see. There's a few bits of sprue. It's got to take it off of the actual block there as well. And then I'll use my little bit of a sand to smooth off the connections. And then I'll stick it together using super glue. So I've got a couple of minutes here in between a meeting, so I thought I'd just quickly do it now and get a start. That actually is pretty much nearly able to just go straight on. But there's very little to clean up. There is going to be a little bit of filling if I want it to be absolutely perfect. But yeah, that goes together nicely. So I've just got these bits of sprue to clear up here, these bits of joints here, take that off of the supports, and then I'll stick it together. And then the first bit will be done. How exciting. Well, second bit, because I started on the base already, obviously. So I pulled out the next section of Smaug, cleaned it up, and here's that section, that neck is going to go slotting in under there. And then basically what we're going to do is I'm going to add the rest of the neck sections on one after another. So what I'm going to do, I'll just do the necks without keeping on coming back to do videos, because it will be a little bit repetitive, I think. But it's been relatively easy so far to clean up. I have just as I've put some glue on that, see that I missed a bit, which I'll have to quickly scrape off. It's been relatively easy to tidy up so far, but I'm definitely going to be having to get my old filler out on this, as I've been warned. And I think that probably when it comes to the body, it's going to be only be worse than it is now, not better. So I've taken off that little bit that I'd missed, and now what we can do is we can carefully just push that in there, and you can see there is definitely a gap. I wonder if I have just seen why that needs to slot inside, but yeah, there's definitely a gap. This is perfectly seated, but there's a gap behind the head, so I'm going to need to get my filler in there. But I'll clamp that now and leave that for a little bit, and then later on, after I've tidied up the next section, I'll glue the next section on, and then I'll come back and show what it looks like when we've got the whole neck together. It's amazing how much this costs and how badly it goes together. Just goes to show, doesn't it? Anyway, I'll leave that now. Brilliant. So I've done a couple of coats of primer, and I'm very happy with the finish I've got now. That's perfectly fine for me. So what I'm going to start to do is going to start to put some paint on it. Now, I have not yet still put the little things on the top, but they're going to be painted a different colour, so I'm not that bothered. And I am actually probably going to paint the bottom first and paint inside the wheel wells, as I've said, because then once they're done, I can then put the wheels in place, put the undercarriage, everything in there, and the doors, and then I'll be able to finish and paint around them again. In terms of the top, I am going to be putting the cockpit on, obviously. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to be putting the cockpit on, so don't wonder why I've not done that yet. Definitely going to be having that on there. So I'm going to start painting. I actually went and bought all of the paints that I think I need. Let me just reach them from over on my desk. Actually ordered them especially for this project, and here they are. I got them from AK Interactive, which I don't often use. But yeah, so the underneath is light aircraft grey, and I have light aircraft grey here. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this. Oh no, there's light aircraft grey. That's light grey, light aircraft grey. So yeah, so I'm going to put that on the bottom. As you can see from the picture, it goes halfway up, kind of thing. So yeah, I'll bring you along when I've done a couple of coats of that, show what it looks like, also we'll then be starting to assemble the undercarriage, so I'll show you how that looks also. But it's really, really cool to be making this progress. I'm very, very pleased. Well, I went to what I thought was the other neck section, realised it's the tail section. So I'm onto the body already. So I've clipped that off of its base and cleaned it up. There is quite a large gap that you can see there at the top, and quite a large gap as you can see there at the bottom. The fit on this kit is not great, but it's pretty flush on the sides, so I'm going to glue that together. And then this is the next tail section, so I'll trim that off, clean that up, and then stick that in place as well. Flying on this assembly, actually, to be honest, it's the painting that's going to take the time, obviously, but I'm glad to be getting ahead of it. So yes, I'll finish gluing those together, and then we'll not be far off actually wanting to start doing some fillering. So I might just assemble the rest of it because it's pretty straightforward. You just got two other tail sections after that one, and a couple of legs. If I just pull those over as well from where they're being stored. So it's pretty self-explanatory how all that goes together. So I'll probably just get that assembled without filming again unless something comes up, and then bring you back when I've got it assembled and we'll have a look at the filling. When I tried to glue the body and the neck together, but it doesn't meet. So when you do that and you kind of think, okay, well, I'll hold it for like 10 minutes, and I did literally hold it for ages, and you can see that the super glue just isn't getting squashed at all. So what I've decided to do is get some putty, stick the putty in there, and then I can, well, maybe I should put a bit less putty in there and a little bit around the sides. So let's just scrape that out again. Ain't nothing if not live, this channel, hey? So yeah, put a bit of putty in there, and then a bit of putty around the outside, and then a bit of super glue where it actually does meet, and hope against hope that actually holds it. So there's a little bit of the first bit of a proper challenge that I've had. So I'll just make a sausage and put it around the outside like that. Hopefully that's it's very, very sunny today, so unfortunately my lighting isn't all that great, but I'm just doing this, as you can see there, just doing that, just putting it around the outside. The super glue is a little bit sticky still as well, so that's proving to be a bit interesting. So now hopefully when I push this in, yeah, I get a good join, and hopefully it will now stay. So I am going to have to fill, and I'm not sure, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of super glue as well. Looking at that, I might even need to mix up a little bit more milliput to fill that gap there and make that right. Sorry, this is very, very badly lit. I will have to try and I'll sort this out for the next shot. But that should now hold it, hopefully. So fingers crossed. Yeah, this is a challenge of a build. This is going to be fun. So the theme which I picked, yay, for the TCU challenge for this month and next month is any terrain which can be used for Ryan's wargame, which is being published very, very soon as I'm filming this, called Anthems of War. Go and check it out. I'll link in the description below to the website. Absolutely fantastic game. I've been doing a little bit to help him with a character builder as well, which is going to be on the website shortly. But anyway, so that's the theme. Any kind of scenery or anything at all which could be anything to do with this game. Basically, I just want to shout about his game a lot, so I'm going to shout about his game a lot, just to warn you. And I've been thinking about it actually. I suggested the idea but didn't have anything in mind. I just wanted to shout about his game. And I've come up with the idea of a bunch of scatter terrain based on what you see here, which is basically all this is stuff of Rosie's. This is the only thing that might not end up making it because I might use it in a different project. It's a particularly horrific ornament. And the concept is that a wizard has gone a little bit crazy, or a wizard used to live somewhere, and they've grabbed items from the real world, potentially, or created items from their nightmares. And what you'll see is on scatter terrain things like this wonderful rhinoceros, which was one of Rosie's toys when she was very young, which I saved for being thrown away and has been had in a box for ages because I'm a hoarder, and also this hippopotamus. The reason I actually inspired me to do this was because this rubber duck has just been retired from her bath. You'll see that I've cut a hole in it. That's because it had water in it and it was getting very, very horrible, and so we took it out of the bath because we weren't able to clean it, and it was about to be thrown away, and I thought, you know what, this could be a really, really cool idea. So we've also got this kind of like crown, which I'm going to put down and make it look like it's like a like coronations or whatever, like a wall. And this here has come from a wind thing in the garden which broke, so I'll mount that, and that can also be something. So the idea is, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop rambling now, I just wanted to explain it all. Those have rattles in them. I'm going to split that open and take the rattles out and then glue them back together again, because that's very annoying. And I'm going to mount those onto CDs. Now, there was a discussion in another Discords I was in, can't remember if it was TCU or not, about how to base terrain on CDs. So I thought this is a good opportunity to do that. So that's going to be that. And this, I'm thinking about having a waterfall coming out of the mouth and having it quite overgrown. They're all going to be relatively overgrown. I'm thinking it could be quite a long time ago. I'm going to probably leave the colours of the toys as they are and work mostly around them. So I'm not going to do anything to the toys. I think that's part of like the concept in my head, is that they're a bit freaky. But yeah, so there we are. So I'm going to need to work out a way of getting into these, probably very, very carefully, with a chisel or something, or with the flat blade of a knife, and just work it apart. This one is already a little bit opened, as you can see, so it should be easier. So I'll get that resolved, and then when I've done that, I'll bring it back and we'll start to put these onto bases and then build the scenery up around them. Yeah, long intro, but I'm really excited. As I say, I might not do this scary thing. I've got other ideas for that maybe, but I'm definitely going to do these 5 elements here as part of this build. So yeah, it's going to be cool. When I got them split, this one that was already slightly split came out really easily. This one actually I started to break, so I just managed to crack it just enough to drop the little balls that are inside it out. So what I'm going to do now is seal them back up with a bit of super glue, just to make it a little bit less likely to fall apart. Though I might leave that one. I'm going to glue this one together. Oh, there's one of the balls that came out. So I'm just going to glue these together, and then once that's done, I will I will come back when I finish gluing that up, and we'll start to put them onto the bases. But yeah, that wasn't such a difficult thing to do. It was a bit of a pain, but it wasn't so hard. I think probably if I just put some little bit of glue in each of these holes, that'll probably be enough to hold it. There we are. Just a little bit of glue on each. There we are. Right, so yeah, get that set, and then we'll come back and start on the next bit, leaving the string in, obviously. So this is all assembled, very pleased with it, but as I've said, there are a few bits that need to be filled. So what I've got here is some milliput I've just mixed up, a little bit of water on my fingers, and I'm going to go along and find out where the worst of the gaps are and fill them in with milliput. Now regular viewers will know that I often don't use milliput. I'll use something like the Mr. Putty or whatever, Mr. Dissolved Putty, but this is just too much for that material, and it's going to be much easier to do with, as you can see there, with this putty, with the milliput. So I'll come along, fill it, and then I'll use a sculpting tool to try to follow the lines of the fur in this case, or whatever it is, the material around it, so it doesn't look too obvious once it's done. So I'm not going to film all this because it's just going to be basically what I've just done, repeated lots and lots of times. We're going to fill all these gaps, make it a little bit nicer, just very, very carefully. Try not to cover any detail. That's another good thing that the sculpting tool is good for, is fixing mistakes, like I just did there because I went too wide. And yeah, then I'll when this is done and dried, we'll prime it and paint, which is very cool. You can see I've still not stuck this onto the base, still not decided on that. I don't normally do base and model painting together, so I probably will just do my usual and base it once I've finished painting it, but you'll find out when I find out, because I'll tell you. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to do this for a little bit. Probably take a couple of days because I'm very tired. Actually should have been in bed half an hour ago or so, but I want to get this done, so I'm pushing through the tiredness. So yeah, let's get those gaps filled. Alright, so it's time to glue these on, which should be quite easy. I've just done a little bit of a dry fit. She actually doesn't need gluing, she stands up on her own, which is cool, or she did. So I'm going to glue her first, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to sit and hold your man Conan a little bit, because he doesn't quite stand on his own quite so easily, but she does, as you can see. You can put her in there. And there we are. So I'll glue Conan in, and then what I'll do is when this is dry, I'm going to do a little bit more painting once it's all assembled, just to kind of touch up any few bits and pieces. I might put a little bit of scenic material in to bring it up a bit more. But that is near enough done. Now, as you can see, well, there we are, he's standing actually now. So yeah, very, very pleased. There's still some to do. I realised after I brought this up to assemble it that I'd actually forgotten to paint the little armband on the skeleton. But that's not the end of the world. I can do that very easily. And there might be a few more bits and pieces to do once I stare at it for a little bit longer. But I'll let that dry now, let that go off. I don't have to hold it, that's all cool. Let that go off and then finish up the painting, and then we'll go and work on the base, because as you know, this is going to be mounted below the painting. The painting is here. It's a bit big, a bit zoomed in, below the painting. So the painting will be on the wall and this will be underneath, and it'll look really cool. Now I do still have this other skeleton, and I'm looking at it wondering whether I've made a mistake and it should actually be and I'm wondering whether it actually should be kind of like down here at the back, but I can't see where it would fit and glue. But I might yet do that as well. I might yet come in with and paint this up and stick this skeleton in behind and on the side or what have you, as if he's lost his legs, but he's still fighting. So yeah, I'm not sure actually. There might be a space here, to be honest. But I looked at the pictures on the website and I couldn't see where it should be. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's let that dry, and I can always paint that skeleton up quite quickly if I decide to use it. As I usually like to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 different ways of doing things. So multiple different ways. I've got 3 CDs to use for the base. The first one, I'm going to use my Moment Fix Extreme to glue to this offcut of blue foam, which I will actually just trim down a bit because it's a little bit oversized. I don't need it that big, obviously. I've had to place it in the middle because that's where it fits. So we'll just slice. They can go back in my box. So this is the simplest method. Get your glue, smear it on like this. And then hope it works. And then press that down, and then when that's grabbed, what I'll do is I'll come along and I'll trim off the edges, and then we'll have blue foam that we can then build on top of. So that's the first idea. Now you might be wondering, why bother doing this? Why not just do foam? Well, this is going to make it a little bit more rigid and give it a little bit more stability. The second method, which is the one I've done before, is get a little bit of masking tape and put masking tape over the hole, like so, and you can put some over the hole on the bottom as well to make sure that doesn't get sticky there. And then what we'll do with that one is I'll come along, and I'll go get my materials in a second, I'll come along with that and I will put some paint and sand and gravel and what have you. That'll be quite a flat one, won't have any particular won't have any particular texture or we'll have texture, but we won't have any contours, because what we'll do is we'll just stick, it's probably going to have that one on it, stick that on there, and then I will be able to put texture around it. So actually I'm going to stick that down now. So we'll just put some grabby glue on the bottom, and then stick it down. So when that's set, we'll be able to come along with normal scenic glue and finish that off. So that's quite quick. The third one, I'm actually going to grab another material, because I need another glue, another different gun with different material in it, and I'm going to use silicone to build up around and put some contours. A word I can't work out today. I'm not feeling very well, so if I sound very throaty, it's because I'm feeling particularly rough. But yeah, so I'm going to use silicone to build up on this, and I've done this technique before as well, and that will then mean we'll have a little bit more contour and what have you to build around. And for that one, I think we'll use the other toy. I'm going to put the windmill on the blue foam one. So I'll grab the different materials. I don't want to use the Moment Fix Extreme for this. I want to use different material in case you can't get glue. It's just normal white silicone that you'd use in a kitchen or bathroom. And I'll be back in 1 second for you to show you how I'm going to do it. Right, a quick swap. And this is just normal bathroom silicone. And that's actually acrylic, not silicone. So for this, I am going to fill that hole again in the middle, same as I will do for the one without any contours. So just a little bit of masking tape over the hole on both sides to fill it. And then what we'll do is we'll squirt this on and then start smearing. Now, one top tip when you're using this is to have a little pot of 100% alcohol to dip your fingers in, because it will make it much easier to smooth, and it will mean it doesn't stick to your fingers. So yeah, any time you're using this sort of acrylic stuff, I use 100% alcohol to make sure it doesn't get stuck. Even if you're using the transparent stuff, that's also good. That works as well. I use the alcohol to make sure. Now, the one thing I'm looking at this and wondering about, we're going to learn together, as you know I like to do that, is whether it's actually going to stick to the CD. Because the thing I've not done, and this is kind of an experiment, is I've not roughed up the CD. Normally, what you would be looking at doing is roughing up the surface that you're trying to stick things to, because that CD is quite shiny and so there's a chance that it won't stick and it'll fall off. If that happens, then we will fix it together. So there we are. So we've got ourselves a nice lump of silicone. And now we'll wait for that to dry and hope that it sticks. Like I say, I'm not sure it will. I'm kind of 50-50. What I am going to do though is I'm going to press this in and then pull it out. Yeah, I don't think this is going to stick actually, looking at this. Right, let's just do it as an experiment. If it does stick, then I'll let you know, and if it doesn't stick, then we'll recover it together. Well, the good news is that my gamble paid off. That has dried on or stuck very nicely, so that's good. So now, next thing to do will be to stick this in place, right there. It's still a bit soft, but it's hardening up. I did it quite thick. This stuff you need to really apply in small layers if you're going to go thick. So I'll stick that in place, probably use a little bit more, probably use the glue actually, the super grabby glue, and that will be fine. This one has stuck perfectly as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along with this. I'm actually going to cut around it first of all. Now if you've got a hot glue gun, if you want to use that for this, then that would also work, because obviously you can run the hot glue gun around the edge of the CD. But I'm just going to use a knife, and then once I've cut kind of the excess off, which I'll quickly do now, so just take a bit off, there we are. Then what we can do is I can start to shave in from the top the slight kind of like bevel that I want, just like that. So I'm going to do that on this. I won't do it all on camera because you've just seen everything, and also it's not the greatest of noises. And then when that's done, I'll bring you back and we'll have a look at how we're going to mount said windmill. Yeah. So I've trimmed that down how I'm happy, and as you can see I've put a little divot in roughly where I want the where I want to have the windmill go. And what I'm doing now is I'm mixing up some modelling compound, and I've made the mistake of putting too much water in. That's too water, as you can see, so I'm going to have to waste some or put some more compound in just to stiffen it up a little bit, which is a shame. Just remember that you can always add more water, which is fine, but if you add too much water you have to put more compound in, and that means you're probably going to mix up too much, which I now have way too much. Anyway, what I'll do is I'm going to put this on now over the top of this, because I want this to be a little bit more built up, and I'm going to try to avoid putting it around that central hole, because that's where I want the windmill to be. But I can always use the windmill again to the base to kind of clear it out. And I've just remembered I forgot to put it onto one of my little metal trays, because you can't move it around if you don't have it sat on something. Actually, I might have ended up, if I put it on a bit thicker than I was planning, I might have ended up with an okay amount. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm just going to put this on and then smooth it out, make it look a little nicer, a little more irregular than the flat top of the XPS. If you don't have modelling compound, you could do a thicker foam on it, so you could put thicker insulation foam, or you could put 2 layers of the same. So I could have put another layer of the blue on and then carved that. So if you don't have this, then you can get away with it. And the idea I've got here is that we've got a bit of a cliff at the back and we've got a slope at the front. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, that's going to look nice. This is a lovely quick build actually, turning out to be anyway, because basically almost done, just need to do painting and flocking on this now. Let's push this to the edge. The little hole in the middle is closing up. Ooh. Have to open that up again. There we are. It's still a bit wet, this compound. Now I do know that you definitely can't put compound straight onto CD, so that's why I've not even tried it. It doesn't work. Right, so now I've applied that, I'm going to wait a minute, wash my hands, and I'll come back with a pot of water, which I've got here, and we'll smooth it around to make it look exactly how I want it to. And I'll get a different, I've got multiple of these, I'm not going to use this one because I don't want to have any white on it. I'll use a different one of those just to make sure that the hole stays open. And then when that's dry, I'll bring you back and we'll have a look at putting some sand and gravel on it and painting it and all that stuff. So I'm going to stop fiddling with it now with these dirty hands. I'll bring you back very shortly. Well, I forgot and then remembered that the other issue with the silicone is it doesn't really paint very well. So I've just given this a prime with some car paint. Hopefully that will work. And what I'm going to do now is just put a little blob of my Moment Fix Extreme in the bottom of each of the divots I made for the legs of the rhinoceros, and then I'm just going to put it at a slight angle so that it looks maybe like it's a little bit older, and then I'll let that dry. And what I'll then do after that is I'll come and put the scenic texture on the same way as I'm going to do for this one, which doesn't have any of that on it, and the same way I'm going to do for one that I've done with the modelling compound. So that's those 3 smaller ones. So the next thing I'm going to look at doing is working with the other elements that I want on this, which is the rubber duck and the crown. And I've also actually pulled up another thing that Rosie gave me, even though it's not a toy. I think that could look quite cool as well. So it's like an old, like a bit of wood that she gave me that she really liked. So and told me to use my hobbying. So I might use that as well. So I might end up with 6 pieces of scatterbrain, which is pretty cool. But for now, I'm just going to think about this for a bit. I've not actually worked out exactly how I'm going to base it. And when I've got that all nailed down, I'll obviously bring you back. And I've finally got this dude primed, a bit of a pain. It's very hard to put grey primer over grey plastic, that's one thing. Another thing, it was very hard to get this leg, yes, this leg, actually glued in. It fell off 3 or 4 times. I think it's secure now. But yeah, really painful kind of process of assembly on that last bit. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. There's a couple of gaps I've missed, but nothing that will annoy me when it's being used or looked at. So now what I'm going to do is still thinking about whether I'm going to base it or not before I paint it, but probably won't, as I've said. What I'm now going to do is start to paint it. So I'll bring you along for some regular updates. I'm going to go pretty close to the box art, I think, because I really like that box art. So I'm going to follow that quite closely. So yeah, let's see how well I can do that. Well, there we are. Couple of projects, assembly projects this week, both of them really difficult. Smaug proving to be just as much of a pain as everyone said that he is. But he's moving on. I'm pretty pleased, not far off finished assembling now. So I should get to start hopefully painting next week. The aim being to get that done by Christmas, so pretty much on track for that still, but life can get in the way. So yeah, going to keep it on with it if I can. Really hope you enjoyed that. Hope that some of those ideas gave you some inspiration, or maybe will encourage you to make something, even if you've never made anything before in your life. It's really fun making things, so why not go for it? Anyway, I'll say again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below. And as I always say at the moment, if any of you are directly or indirectly impacted by the horrific war in Ukraine, my thoughts do go out to you and to anyone that you know who may be being affected by it. It's horrendous and horrible, and I hope it's over soon. And to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.